First of all, I'm Alberto, one of the photography, the foundation tutor and teaching photography as well. And today I'm going to explain how to work with this on exploratory stage. The final project is about home, and it's this kind of project that sometimes sound a little bit obvious, really easy, home, but it's really wide. We have lots of possibilities in this regard. Here, the project at a glance. In this project, basically you need to explore the topic initially of home, providing a personal response in 2D media with drawing, painting, printmaking, mixed media. You will move through exploration, experimentation, contextual research, reflection, conceptual development, and evaluation. Step 1, the exploration. Initially, you need to visit a local gallery, or if it's not possible, take a virtual tour to gather primary research. And you need to look for historical and contemporary works. We have lots of examples online as well, because home is something that is not only the physical, a physical house, for example. We have lots of possibilities in this regard, because home, the house is basically the physical element, and the house and the home is more like the soul of your house or your place. So it's really wide. We have lots of possibilities. Sometimes an odor or smell can be a part of your home. You can remember something in this regard. For example, some shops play with this concept. Here we have an example of exhibition, in this case making home. And how is this piece representing home? Any idea? Any thought about that? Here we have this example on this exhibition. Initially, we can identify completely different materials. No, it's well done, shelter. Basically, as I say, the idea here is to represent the physical part of basically the house, the shelter. We can, with this piece, identify, for example, protection, these kind of things. No, so in this regard, you can play a lot, with this concept. But this is the physical part. No, we can represent is a house or something like that. But we need to think that with home, we have the possibility to play with the concept of soul, the soul of your house, something relevant is going to be key. Here we have two completely different elements, because we can see concrete and wood. Really important when you visit the local gallery or virtual gallery. Something relevant is if you have the possibility to take notes about. The statement is really important, because sometimes we can imagine something from or read something from a specific piece like this one, but sometimes if we have the opportunity to read the statement of this piece, we have obviously more information, and we can change how the piece, the meaning of this piece with a little bit of text, with this text. So something relevant as well. It's not possible all the time with one drawing or sculpture or something like that to say everything. Sometimes we need to, with the statement, the possibility to explain a little bit more what happened. The step 2, experimentation, practice expressive mark making with the materials you have. This can also be a quick drawing or paintings, something like that. You need to catalog your text with short annotation, something really small, but obviously relevant. We can see here your progress and your tools, mediums, intent, and what you learned during this process. Here are some examples. This is, I think, gonna be useful. Really, really simple sketches with some notes. Basically, this is the idea here in terms of materials. So, step 3, contextual research, artists and ideas. Guiding question, what are these artists saying about home in their work? Here we have a really, really important artist that play with the concept of home on a completely different directions. For this reason, it's going to be relevant to take a look. Because here, if you compare between the pieces between all of these different artists, you're gonna see something completely different. But this is the idea. My idea of home is gonna be completely different in comparison with my neighbor, for example. Probably the house is gonna be more or less the same, no? But not the concept. Here, Edward Hopper, the contextual research and some examples. Basically here, you need to explain how each artist represents the concept of home, and sure you also add your personal evaluation. For example, what you like and what aspect of the work you think you can incorporate in your own project. For example, Hopper. Hopper, something relevant with this artist is the light, the contrast, all the paintings. And this mood, with this mood is capable to represent loneliness. You can see something all the time. So it's not only about how to paint. It's not only about the place. Sometimes, for this reason, is relevant, this artist. How to play with the mood, the lighting, the concept, and all of these elements, and try to say something in regard. In this case, this student took some pictures, and you can see the relation between the pictures and Hopper. Basically, some initial test based on this research to mimic some aspect of your research artist. And in this example, the student studied Hopper's approach to home to replicating their own photographs. Here I can see that is more or less, I can see the link more on the composition, no? Play with the elements. For example, the first picture works a little bit better in terms of the contrast, the lighting, the difference between the light and the darker areas on the image, and how organize the picture or the painting, all the elements on this painting. Step 4, reflection. What does home means to you? This is key. This is one of the most important part. This step is gonna make your project more or less interesting, and because it's about your home, something that working on the same topic is gonna be impossible to replicate, because we have a completely different perceptions about our house, place, or routines. Here, list of memories, as I say, smells, atmospheres, all of these things. With all of these things, you can represent home. The difficulty, for example, it's possible it's not possible to paint a specific odor or smell, but it's relevant in this regard. But sometimes, depends of your image or your painting or your specific element, you can recreate this atmosphere, and the beholder is capable to imagine how the taste or how this thing smell or sounds as well. A little bit more difficult, but it's possible. Try to go beyond the concept of a house, if possible. This is basically the challenge on this, because sometimes the easiest way is, for example, if on my house I have a specific place that I'm really, really comfy, no? or is really, really nice. I'm gonna take pictures or I'm gonna paint this place and that's it. But we need to try to go beyond that. You need to write 550 to 200 word working definition of home to guide making. Step 5, the conceptual development. It's about research. You need to research your specific subject thoroughly. So, for example, if you have a specific idea, now you need to revisit places or, for sure, research about this specific element, topic, or object, or whatever, with basically pictures, drawing, or ephemera. For example, bring in all the photos, fabrics, furnishing, possessions. You need to be attentive to surface as well, textures and colors, or combination, or both. For example, a specific color with the same color with the different texture, you're gonna look completely different as well. Explore how process carries meaning. So step 5, conceptual development example. Here is the initial idea. This student basically took a self-portrait, obviously relevant. In this case, the portrait. On this kind of portraits, you need to see, we need to see the environment. It's environmental portrait because the environment, with the environment, you have the possibility to add information on the picture. So this is the reference image, and she said that is not extremely clear, but is the first step. Something relevant, the direction of the light. What happened here, for example, if I need to take a picture and the light comes from the window on this direction, we need to think about the position of my camera, because the problem here is only is possible to see the darker areas. So if you change the angle a little bit, it's possible to be the shadows and some part of the face that receive a little bit of light. And you have this kind of contrast that we can see on this, the hopper example. In this case, for example, the painting 3, we have a specific light, really interesting, but the idea here is the contrast. For example, if you pay attention, the face, one area of the face, the face receive light, but the hair is completely dark. But the most interesting thing on this composition is, if we pay attention on the wall, we have the opposite. The area on the background where the face receive light is completely dark, and the yin of the hair completely dark. In this case, on the wall is receive light. So it's like a yin yang, no? And is relevant in this case because we have like a background separation. The most important thing, imagine this painting with the entire wall completely well illuminated. It's going to be less interesting. The idea is how the painter play with shadows and lights and the composition. So in this case, the next example, the next step is basically a development here in terms of color palette. I need to say this is really, really important. In this case, we can see is like an environmental self-portrait, but you don't need to replicate something like that, because here is really obvious. For example, the place, we can see the physical house and how, and we can imagine a lot, but you have here the possibility to play more with concepts instead of try to do something really, really obvious. Okay, so here's some tips. You need to produce multiple thumbnails, sketches, and material studies. Do not try to research a final result, sorry, too quickly. So it is important to showcase your experimentation and development. Really, really important. We need to see the process, how you develop how your project is growing. Lots of cases you need to change your initial idea. Everything is sometimes is your initial idea is gonna be completely different in comparison with the final result, but this is a good thing. Okay, so test composition, case, and surface, and the work doesn't need to stay within a rectangle. You need to annotate decision. This is relevant because if for some reason you change your initial idea or concept, or you think that it's possible to represent your idea of home a little bit different, here you have the possibility to, obviously you should do it, but you need to explain why and how. Step 6, representation and submission. You need to prepare, basically select the most compelling ideas and resolve technical issues. Sometimes, for example, if one of your tests at some point you think that is not going to be successful, this not mean that it's not worthy to present this idea or concept. Actually, it's completely the opposite. I was playing with this concept, but it's not. I think it's not really clear. For example, or it's not gonna work. Okay, explain why. And fantastic, you have because you're working on this idea for a long time, and you need to present that as well. You need to check suitability of medium to concept and refine craft and finish. Well, in terms of submission, you need to present this like on a digital sketchbook in PDF with coherent visual plus written documentation. You need to add a clear reference to research, development, and consistent annotation. If you, for example, took information from internet, take a lot of screen grabs, obviously the name of this specific place or exhibition. If you visit physical exhibition or museum, if you had the possibility to take, depends on the place, it's possible, take pictures or annotation or something like that. Is going to be fantastic. Step 7, the self-evaluation. What have I achieved and learned? Obviously, the idea here as an artist is when you work on this kind of project, it's really so personal because home obviously should be different for every person. For sure, you're gonna learn a lot about you. This is key because you're gonna pay attention what is relevant or basically the soul of your house or your place, or sometimes home. You feel that you are at home when you smell something, or you with a specific music, or it's really wide. This topic, you have the in terms of strengths and weakness in this process. This is really common. Sometimes I have a really good idea, but I don't know how to represent that properly. Depends of the medium. Sometimes, okay, I thought that I want to do something with watercolor, but this idea on watercolor was really difficult, or sometimes happen. How do I feel about the outcomes, and what would I improve with more time? Because here the problem is the time. We need to manage the time as well. So which materials and processes help the most? Because sometimes you want to represent something with a specific material, and at some point you realize with, for example, with using a specific texture or different paint or technique or something like that is feasible, no? Because imagine that my idea is I have a specific odor or smell that I want to transmit, no? On the beholder need to identify this feeling or this idea or this smell. Sometimes it's possible within specific elements or textures or so. My advice is if you have the possibility to ask different people about that is sometimes it's gonna be useful for you. Action point for further improvement. In this case, really clear. In terms of suggested timeline, we have 3 weeks planned for full-time students. The week one, the exploration, the gallery virtual visit, initial mark making test, and begin contextual artist research, start a digital sketchbook with all of these things is possible to cover the week one. Week two, depend experiment, focus artist analysis, first and the first thumbnails, reflection, draft your working definition of home and the conceptual development. And week three, finalize and refine outcomes and prepare PDF and the complete evaluation. It's really useful to follow this kind of structure because if not, if you try to work on this project the last minute is going to be impossible. So you need to. So the final checklist before submission, have I addressed home in a way that's personal, specific, and coherent? Is there clear evidence of exploration, experimentation, research, development, and reflection? Something that we need to keep in mind is that, because sometimes happen that obviously if we pay attention on Hopper, okay, the painting looks fantastic, but for sure the idea is to take some inspiration or see how this artist is capable to represent this idea with more information as well, for example, loneliness or something like that. But the idea is to not to copy basically this, because I want to say, I think your home is not gonna be, your idea of home is not gonna be the same in comparison with Hopper, no? But how Hopper work with this concept is useful. So try not to copy. We need to avoid repetition as well, relevant on your project. We need to try to do different, to test different ideas, try to find different ways on the same project. If not, what is the problem? More or less the same sketches with more or less the same pictures, and this is not going to be successful. So try to play with everything and see what happens. If it's possible to represent your idea of home. Is my PDF professional, readable, and properly referenced? Have I answered the evaluation questions honestly and specifically? Or basically, sorry, basically this is the how we need to work with this project. The most relevant thing, you need to separate the idea and think about more home as is like the soul of your house. Obviously, you can take pictures or paint part areas of your house or wherever you want, because you have the opportunity with these areas it's possible to represent your home. But if it's possible to go further and deeper, it's gonna be better. Okay. Any question? No, it's a fantastic. It's a really good question, because it's basically on fine art is relevant at the university as well. The process and the development, because if you what is the point of a student, for example, if you have an idea and you basically paint it directly and that's it. For example, on photography is really common, because a photographer need to use a machine, camera, took a picture, and that's it. But you can't imagine when this photographer initially play with the camera, for example, on different places with the same concept, with different weather conditions. Some photographers, for example, work with sketches as well. Imagine how the picture is gonna be. Different compositions. All of this process is gonna is key because you are gonna with this during this process it's possible to improve your idea, your initial idea with the research, and it's relevant because it's how we need to work with as an artist with your specific ideas. Only it's possible to develop. If not, what happened? You can for sure for sure lots of artists that all the time, for example, replicate the same kind of paintings. What is the point? The most interesting thing is because to work and create different things and develop the ideas only is possible if we are focused on the entire process. This is basically why. Any other question? Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. Any other question? No? Fantastic. If you have any question, let me know. I'm gonna try to help you as soon as possible. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you guys. Thank you.